Hello, everybody. Welcome and thank you for tuning in to Just Bleed Radio. Today is Sunday, February 2nd, 2025, and this is. Hello, everybody. Welcome and thank you for tuning in to Just Bleed Radio. Today is Sunday, February 2nd, 2025, and this is the Weekend Roundup. Welcome, all my friends, to the show that never ends. Round and round it goes again, and just where it stops, that all depends. This is episode 39 of the Weekend Roundup, and it is a very special Groundhog Day edition. What that means exactly, I do not know, but chances are if a groundhog popped out, our very own No Special would want to euthanize it. Anyways, while I may not be sure what to make of the holiday, I do know what to make of today's fight talk. So allow me to introduce the fellas and let's get right into this. First up, vanquishing vermin, crushing cold ones, saving little old ladies from creepy crawlers. And that's just a standard Tuesday. How are you, Austin?
I'm good. Yes. I'd probably be called to figure out what to do about the groundhogs, to be fair. But we're doing good. Doing good. It's been a good weekend so far. Can't complain.
Can't you get one of those suction machines?
Yeah, you get something.
All right, and while not a groundhog or even a woodchuck, I'm fairly certain they at least come from some sort of similar rodent family. He's English by birth, but a Yorkshireman by the grace of God. What's up, DangerMouse?
I'm good, my friend. I'm very, very good. Nice intro there. I thoroughly abuse. Too much PHP will and fuzzy will as well, no doubt.
Good. And of course, none of this is possible without the technical wizardry and twisted sense of humor of the three-headed monster we call our editing team, Chatri, Steven, and Dave. My name is LazyBed. I'm from the great state of Ohio, home of your NCAA national champion Ohio State Buckeyes. And unfortunately for you, I'll be your host today. Oh, one last bit of housekeeping before we begin. I've got to give a huge shout out to a couple of different folks. First up, the King of Connecticut, the American Alpha, abnormally jaundiced. Big shouts to our guy Brian Campbell for commentating this weekend's PBC boxing card between Benavidez and Morrell. Top-notch work from the Factory Town resident who shouted out JBR multiple times on last week's Campbell's Rambles. Proud of this man. I'm sure you guys are too. So shout out BC.
yeah. Go BC.
Despite what you think, BC, I don't dislike you.
That's a little inside baseball there. Okay, and second up, a big shouts to our guys Long Island Luke and Gaff, who ran multiple watch-alongs for multiple events this weekend. Always a good time whenever you join a main card minute or a one more rounds fight companion show. So big shouts out to those guys. Go subscribe to their channels, and if you haven't already, get your main card minute membership today and get in on the ground floor. All right, well, let's just get these shout outs out of the way. The last shout of the day, we got some new names and faces around here on the subscription and ourselves. So I'd like to give some quick props to the latest bleeders on the block, with a special mention to the homegirl Duty from She Loves the Gloves blog and podcast, who's just crushing the MMA game right now, especially with the Georgian content. So big props to Duty. Go check out She Loves the Gloves. Now that if you haven't already done so for our channel, hit the like and subscribe, ring the notification bell, and let's fucking do this. All right, boys, fight talk time, and we'll start today with a little preliminary action in the women's flyweight division. All thanks to our guy DM. Myra Bueno Silva took on the filthy dirty cheater Jasmine Jasdavicius. As we've discussed in the MCM chat, I nearly hedged my bets on this one. Had considered taking Silva on either the preview that we did or in the Discord picks, but glad I didn't. Easy money victory for the Canuck, who pummeled her way to a decision win. Danger, she is your side girl, your other girl, your dollar store Dakota. What do you got to say about the fight and your 15 fantasy points that now bump you into first place, you
Obviously, I'm very, very happy. Very, very happy about the fantasy points. The fight itself, it was a very, very comfortable decision for Jasmine. It was pretty much rinse and repeat for 3 rounds. At the start, there was a minute, maybe 2 minutes, just back and forth striking, with Jasmine kind of leading the way in that anyway. I think Myra looked far more marked up at the end of it. Um, and then, yeah, once you got to that kind of 2 minute mark, they would tangle up. It had hit the floor, and that was it. It was Jasmine all over the top of Silver, and there was very little she could do from what I remember. I didn't bother rewatching it today because it was just a very, very solid performance, but there was nothing exciting about it. Didn't get me a decision, unfortunately. I think Jasmine was kind of pushing towards getting a decision in the third round, but couldn't pull it off. Silver looked beaten up. I think she was almost crying on the stool between one of the 2 rounds. Um, I didn't, like I said, I didn't rewatch it for that moment, but yeah, great performance by Jasmine, and thank you very much. 60 points. I'll take it.
Yeah, you bastard. It wasn't. It wasn't.
Bitch.
The hatred.
It's just passion, baby. It's just passion. It wasn't the most exciting fight, but it certainly was a sound beating. I mean, she pretty much put a whipping on Silva. We should mention that Silva was dropping down in weight here, so she maybe was experiencing, some side effects of a tough weight cut, perhaps. But either way, Jasmine beat the fucking shit out of her. I mean, she had a big old swollen egg on the side of her head at one point. Just a good showing from Jasmine. So, Austin, how about you, brother? Any thoughts on this flyweight fight? The first women's fight put on by the UFC in Saudi Arabia.
Not disappointment, but just a realization that Myra kind of went back to her bad habits. If you remember some of her flyweight fights prior, she just kind of does the same thing where she just kind of plots forward and just kind of like wings punches, and occasionally she'll win a grappling exchange and look for a finish, but she's not capable of consistently going to a decision and winning. That's just not her game. I mean, hell, like she she for some reason is capable of landing great shots. Like she would reach out again, she would land a good elbow, a good hook, and Jasdavicius would feel it, realize it's got a good idea to get into a firefight, and then keep circling the outside. And then Myra would just didn't know how to cut off the cage, didn't know how to stop the momentum of Jasdavicius, and she couldn't defend a damn takedown. It was just more like, oh, okay, we're back to here now. Okay, it's unfortunate too because you know coming off of the title fight, you know, gassing out and honestly having a poor performance in the title fight itself at 135 against Pennington, and then losing via cut in her next fight, and now this. It's not a good look. Not a good look, and it just doesn't look like she's getting better. Matter of fact, it kind of looks like she's getting worse. I mean, you said it yourself, Lazy. The weight cut that she had to strip down all the way through. They had to hold a whole thing around her. She didn't look good on scale either. So yeah, there's got to be a reworking of it, of what she's doing. And good job for Jasdavicius. She just stayed the course, didn't panic, didn't try to get into a firefight. She kept the pace consistent, and she made sure to win rounds when she needed to. So good job to Jasdavicius, or good job for Jasdavicius, and damn it, Mouse. Now he's in charge. Now he's in the lead.
At least we were able to depend on the old faithful women fights going to decision here, and he didn't get the finish. So,
well, I couldn't have my Dakota, could I? So.
All right. Well, gents, that was the one prelim we're covering today. So from there, we're on to the main card, and we'll start with a matchup in the lightweight division. The Frenchman Fares Ziam put his 4-fight win streak on the line against the injury-plagued Mike Davis. A fine showing from Ziam in one of the more fun fights of the day. Tons of blood, fun scrambles, and that fucking calf slicer ordeal. Good God. Lots to talk about here. So WrestleMaster, no special. What a series of events in this one, boy. What do you got for us on Ziam versus Davis?
All right, so no joke, my knee began to tense up the minute I saw the calf slicer come in, and then the multiple angles of which it was actually being pushed in, and him not freaking out whatsoever. Like it felt like my knee was already imploding by watching it because I've injured my knee several times, but I I had that feeling where you can feel the pain of something hitting and it's not even being done to you. I had
Mm.
that. It was very not fun, but it was insane. It felt like I was watching a fight from like 2005. Blood everywhere, two guys not giving a damn about what happens to their bodies and just throwing caution to the wind and just going ham. Then it was fun. That was like my fight of the night for sure. But damn it, if Fares Niam didn't almost like put himself in questionable positions and managed to take the win from Davis, managing to land that knee that cut him open, and that blood honestly became like his saving grace. Like had there been less blood, he might have lost, but also Davis kind of gassed, which is unfortunate because Davis is a great fighter, and you see it. You see how good he is, and if you're looking at this fight and thinking, well, that's another loss for Davis. Davis is a good fighter. He faces really good competition. Sometimes he doesn't come out on top, but he's one of those guys you need to watch. And Fares Ziam, like honestly, this is a good notch in the cap, man. He did the thing. I was shocked at how fucking consistent like the grappling exchanges were going back and forth. Like they were going after it, man. Like I was having a ball watching it, honestly. But you know what? If it's any consolation, it should be that these guys shouldn't just be here. They should be facing upper echelon competition. But unfortunately, lightweight's historically deep, and someone's got to win and someone's got to lose.
Yeah, man, it was a fucking phenomenal fight. Like you can't take anything away from either guy. The only thing I will say is Mike Davis, pulling guard like he was. That was kind of fucking weird. And I wasn't the only person to notice it. I think a lot of people did. Something seemed off with him coming in. I don't know if mindset, the ring rust, the time off, what it is. But he's, like I said in the intro there, he's injury plagued, and not a surprise or shocker. He did claim to have taken this fight while injured. So eh, no credit to, you can't take anything away from Ziam because this was a very nice win and it was a hard fought battle. But Mike Davis just seemed a little bit off. But anyways, Mouse Man, a little bit of blood never bothered you. What did you think of this lightweight affair?
Yeah, well, in the main card minute chat, I did declare this as the Just Bleed Radio sponsored fight of the night just for all the claret that was going on in that cage. A few things that stood out, as you just said. Davies pulling guard immediately, dived in for a bit of a takedown, then has pulled guard. And then, I don't know, 30 seconds later, he made this great stand up move, kind of a butterfly sweep, and then hugged Ziam into himself and pulled himself up somehow. I'm not. Uh, I'm not well graced enough in jiu-jitsu to exactly understand how he did it, but it looked really damn cool. Maybe they will put it in the clips, or I'll cut it for him. Yeah, Ziam with some really nice striking. He was mixing up his targets when they were in the striking exchanges. And then he said Davies ended up on the when they ended up on the floor. Davies did that thing to his knee, and I think like Austin, I've never had that happen to me, but I've had kind of calf slicer locks put on me before, and they're not pleasant. So yeah, that looked nasty. That was Mokaev level, when he had his
Yeah.
ACL destroyed. That kind of almost looked as bad as that. And yeah, great result from Ziam. In the third round, I was laughing and joking, saying he was slipping and sliding his way to a points decision, which suited me absolutely perfectly because in the topology thing, I had Ziam winning this by decision. So yeah, great result for me. Great result for Ziam. Uh, Absolutely fun fight. Yeah, I'd struggle to maybe put anything ahead of that as fight of the night. I'd have to think about it. Yeah, fun fight.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I really wish is I wish that Mike Davis would have turned on that aggression that he showed in the third round a little bit earlier. Because once he did start showing the aggression, I mean, he busted Ziam wide open with that elbow from on top, had him
Yeah.
leaping and bleeding everywhere too. And once he started kind of showing a little bit more gumption, it kind of became a more even fight. But maybe that was the injury, I don't know. But last thing I want to say on this is that Ferris Zia, man, starting to gather some scalps on his resume now. That's a 5-fight win streak he's currently sitting on. It's still only 27 years old, so could see some big things from him.
Yeah, his first ever cut as well. I was listening to his post-fight chat. Yeah, never been
First
cut
cut,
before.
a nasty one.
Yeah, for
All
sure.
right. Well, next up, the 135ers took the stage to stake bantamweight claims. 2024 knockout of the year contender Vinicius Loke Dog Oliveira locked horns with the man who is Nurmagomedov by name and cardio, but not by blood, Saeed Nurmagomedov. Saeed had not fought since he defeated Muin Gafurov and his weird back hair patch via guillotine in October of 2023. Oliveira's last outing was an impressive decision W against Ricky Simone this past June. This one turned into, again, one of the best fights of the day, as many bantamweight matchups do. Now, despite a broken rib, Vinny Olives managed to outlast the Ruski and edged out a hard fought decision win. Danger, who were you riding with on this one, and what did you think of this fun banger, the fight, not sausage?
I had Saeed winning by decision. And actually, I think there's a passable argument that he could have won that fight. I don't think it's that clear cut. But I'm not have any objections to Vinicius Vieira winning it, Oliveira, sorry, winning it, especially with the broken ribs. If Saeed had done that injury to him, then I'd say no, Saeed should have won that fight if he broke his ribs, because damage wins everything. Yeah, Saeed crazy with the legs. Just there were times he threw kicks up to head height, and it was like, how the hell did you throw that from there? I think there's one where he was pushed back against the cage in the corner, and he got a moment's space, and all of a sudden his foot was wrapping up around Vinicius' head. So I was like, lucky it didn't have that much force behind it, I guess. Yeah, another, as you said, one of the other fun fights of the night. I didn't write a lot of notes down for it. Like I said, I wanted Saeed to win this one. I did make the note in the first round. There was a very classy step back by Oliveira after there was an eye poke, and he just immediately waved to the ref and said, "Look, I've poked him in the eye. I'm sorry." So that was nice to see. I always like to see a bit of sportsmanship. Then again, these two that were playing table tennis together
Yeah, they
during the
were.
week. Yeah. I wonder who won that. Uh, Yeah, fun fight. That's all I can really say. I picked a decision. I just got the wrong guy winning the decision. That was my only problem.
Yeah, I mean, it was a fun fight. I mean, one of the more enjoyable fights of the night. Like I said, I had a feeling coming into it that it was going to be like you could sort of tell just looking at these guys and their fighting styles and their repertoire of moves and the way that they come at a fight that it was going to be an enjoyable affair. Interesting afterwards, Loke Dog calling for Umar. Said that
Yeah.
Umar is afraid of him, and I did like that. He basically said that you fight two Nurmagomedovs in a row and you beat them, and you get a title shot after that. That's pretty sound logic, but okay. Austin City Limits. What do you got to say to the bleeders about Lope Dog versus Saeed Not a Nurmagomedov?
That's a good one. It's interesting because I felt like Saeed gave the fight away in the second. Like he was willingly disengaging in some of the grappling and walking away half the time from the stand up. It almost felt like he was pulling a Shara, where he was like, all right, I could kickbox too, let me show off my skills. But then he forgot, oh yeah, this is MMA. You still got to wrestle. Vinicius was getting clipped in the beginning and managed to kind of. That's how you know a guy is good when it doesn't matter if he's getting tagged or not. If he's losing or if he's lost the momentum, he's pushing through and looking for avenues to victory. And that's how Vinicius is good. Even though I kind of felt like he definitely let the fight almost get away from him. He fought it back, man, and he took the fight from Saeed. And honestly, that's on Saeed. There was moments where he was actively just like gassed, and it didn't matter if Saeed actually landed good strikes on him. Vinicius was like, all right, bet, just kept going forward. He just like it's almost like he's a Yoel Romero, like he just doesn't care. And he also I'm assuming cuts a lot of weight because he was fairly big in there. Saeed is not a small bantamweight, and Vinicius looked like he was a whole weight class bigger than him. But if you can make the weight, you can make the weight, man. I was more interested in wondering what was the game plan from Saeed. Was it just a kickbox and then kind of coast to a decision? Land big in the first and then kind of pick your spots afterwards, because that's what it looked like. And he literally, like I said, it felt like he gave the fight away midway through the second and then got out wrestled. Like some of those exchanges, he was literally like, crap, looking up like, God damn it, I got caught. you know, like his wrestling coach would be pissed. I would, shit, but good shot for or good win for Vinicius. I have a lot of more questions about his capabilities in the elite part of the class of the division, but he looked good tonight and he fought through. That's how you know he's a good fighter. But I'd say he deserves one more before we give him Umar. That's what I
Yeah,
think.
yeah. I think it's a little
Just,
bit
just,
early to
jump,
be wanting to
just
jump
jumping
there.
in, Saeed did actually spend part of this training camp with Khabib and family, I believe, up there. So
Yeah, he's not getting a good job, brother.
He's not
no,
He's
getting.
running after practice.
Yeah, he ain't
Actually,
getting.
his wrestling defense did look pretty solid for most of the fight until he got kind of his cardio and he gassed out, and then it started to struggle over. But it didn't look bad until then, from my opinion.
With him just being under Magomedov by name and not by blood, and him being the third Nurmagomedov in as many weeks to have their cardio fail on them, I don't think he's going to be getting the invite back to Nurmagomedov Mountain, wherever the
Maybe
fuck that is. Uh, yeah, I mean, I can't speak to Saeed's game plan coming in, but I can say that Vinicius had said that their game plan coming in was to lean on Saeed and try to sap that cardio, and it seemed like that game plan did work. That constant pressure forward, the forcing him to wrestle, the clinch situations did seem like it sapped his tank. And then, much like the previous fight we just discussed, this now puts Vinicius Oliveira on a 5-fight win streak as well. And he's also 3-0 and undefeated in the UFC. So, well, I don't think he's ready for an Umar. He is ready for a step up. So let's see how he looks in his next bout. Okay, time now for a couple of mountains of men in the heavyweight division. The octagon was rumbling as Sergey Pavlovich squared off against Suriname's Jairzinho Biggie Boy Rosenstrike. Pavlovich came into the contest having lost his last two to Volkov and Tommy Aspinall. Rosenstrike on the opposite end of the spectrum, having won his last two against Tai Tuivasa and Shamil Gaziev. This one would end up a 3-rounder where D1 Sergey brought his singlet, hitting his career high in takedowns. If you watched the one more round fights simulation, you might have seen this one coming, so shout out Gav. Austin, the lone man who selected Jairzinho in the Discord picks, give your account of Biggie Boy's performance and the way the fight unfolded.
In my defense, in my defense, I assumed that Pavlich wasn't going to do the pass the test, right? Where we'd seen him get clipped and finished by Tommy Aspinall. We seen him fail against a former training partner that just knew how to beat him, right? And I assumed that he was going to try to just make a point to go forward. I To his credit, he proved me wrong. I figured the counter striking from Biggie Boy would, Jairzinho Rosenstrike would be his undoing. And what it basically said was, no, I realized I screwed up in my last two fights. I got a little overzealous and, I let my emotions get to me in the Volkov fight. And I got carried away with tagging Tommy Aspinall and rushed too quick. And he learned his lesson apparently because he was patient. Patient as all hell, and that's why they got a lot of boos too. I mean, it wasn't all sunshine and rainbows in this fight, but it definitely played into Pavlovich's game plan, which was to get Biggie Boy to slip, like barely make a mistake or bite on a feint and then either get tagged and look for a takedown and then control him from there on because he played the safe fight. And unfortunately Jairzinho is that kind of fighter where you cannot give him opportunities because he's a great counter striker. He doesn't throw a lot, but when he does, it makes it you feel it. So was it a great fight? Absolutely not. It was kind of a crap fight, but hey, Pavlovich did the thing where you learned and he adapted and he put it into practice. So You can't be mad at the fact that he got a win. You can be mad at Jairzinho for having never adapted or ever changed his game plan ever. So, it's neither here nor there for that matter. And this is heavyweight. You need guys like Pavlovich to win. And I again, this is good for the division that Pavlovich won, because Jairzinho just doesn't seem to be the guy who consistently, makes a run on these guys where, he's a test. Do you know how to fight a good counter striker in this heavyweight division? Yes or no? Pavlovich passed.
Yeah, see, here's the thing though. I don't know if he was actually coming into this fight. Like, we've been talking a lot about game plans. I don't know if it was necessarily his game plan to come in and be a wrestler in this fight, or if he just kind of found himself slipping into that first sort of takedown situation and be like, huh, that was kind of easy. Like, maybe this is the path of least resistance, and I should stick to this game plan throughout the fight. And I'll be damned if he didn't, and it worked. Danger Mouse, this is your guy Tommy's division. What do you got on the big fellas here for us?
Oh, so you're a wrestler now. Yeah, I could go two ways on this, and I might kind of split between the two. I can go the very negative way with it. This was kind of a two fat guys at the apex kind of level fight. It wasn't exciting. There was a lot of laying on top of each other, or rather, Pav laying on top of Jarzino, and a bit of ground and pound. And Pav did land a few fairly solidish shots, but obviously not like the ones that he used to land, where he would send people to sleep every time he touched them. So yeah, very surprising decision win by Pavlovich. This was actually the only fight I picked on the main card that was going to end in finish, and I said that Pavlovich would get it done in round one, and of course he didn't. He he beat his way. He won the fight. It wasn't exciting, but yeah, he won the fight. He's back on the road to victory again, which I guess is important for Pavlovich. Jarzino, as Austin has said, doesn't really seem to be showing it. At 36, he's kind of pushing the age limit. I know it's heavyweight and he can go longer, but whereas Pavlovich, 32, still young, still can kind of improve. I did hear the commentary saying that Pavach, him and he was a bit surprised by how Volkov fought him, because he was expecting it to be kind of a fight between two friends where they weren't going to really try and hurt each other too badly. And of course, Volkov went, "Fuck that! I'm going to beat the shit out of you while I can." so, so yeah, I guess it's good to see Pavlovich on the winning road again. It's another one to move into the heavyweight top 10. Well, I guess he's already there. But before he gets any attempt at a title, he certainly needs to win at least one more fight and do something memorable in it, I think. And yeah, I guess that's about it. All I can say on that one.
Yeah, I mean, Sergey definitely needs to win one more at least before he gets himself back in the title picture, because I mean, he could not have afforded to lose this fight. I don't think 3 in a row after being in the title picture would have really removed him from the the water cooler discussion around that topic. And again, I'm not sure really what you do with him, because the guy seems to be a bit gun shy and maybe have a little bit of PTSD since the Tommy Aspinall fight. He doesn't want to really engage, or when he does, it's like safely. So I think it was New York Rick said on the Uncrowned post show, and it was a really good comparison. Sergey's kind of like a great white shark who was having a fantastic time just running amok in his part of the ocean, being the apex predator and just smashing everybody and really thinking he had no equal. And then Tommy Aspinall came along and he was kind of like the killer whale, the orca, and just, said, "Hey, buddy, like, you got a lesson to learn here. You got another thing coming. You're not the top of the food chain." And since then, he's kind of not been the same. So good to see him bounce back. Good to see him get back on the winning trail. And hopefully his next opponent isn't a former training partner, because Jairzinho was also a former training partner for like
Yeah.
2 years. So yeah, give this guy somebody that he doesn't know intimately for his next fight.
Yeah. How about Gan?
Sure, yeah, I think he'll knock his head off. Yeah.
I think Gan might beat
This
him.
division, this division sucks because there's nowhere for him to go.
Well,
All right, well, unlike these two fat fuckers, we're gonna chug right along, as we always do around here, because we're moving to the middleweight for the co-main event, the final bout of the day with implications for the JBR Fantasy Draft. No
ooh,
specials, fifth round pick, the Pirate of Moscow, Shara Bullet Magomedov took on longtime welterweight and temporary 185er, Michael Venom Page. Another fight that would go the distance, but Page would fight off Father Time for one more go. The Bullet seemed unable to get MVP in his sights and failed to fire a kill shot. Now, Danger Mouse, the fifth O goes in the last 2 weeks. What's going on, man? What's happening here?
I don't know.
Uh,
It's messing with my stats.
I believe you had Shara in the picks. So, what do you have to say for yourself, and how are you going to blame this on Austin?
Well, my drink tonight is in honor of this fight. I've gone for ginger ale and spiced rum, a very long one. Um, yeah, I picked Shara. I expected him to win this one, and it was one of those fights. As the week went on, I was kind of thinking, should I really change my mind here? And I decided not to. I thought I'd stick with this one. And yeah, Shara was just unable to do anything to MVP that he hadn't seen before. Whereas, of course, Shara had never fought anyone like MVP. Because I'm presuming if you even try and get someone to act like him, it's going to be very difficult. They might be able to bounce around in a similar fashion, but they're not going to be as natural as MVP is in that job. Yeah, wasn't a super fight, but it's one of those things we often get it. You get two really, really high level strikers together, and it turns into a point scoring match almost. And in this case, I think it was, I can't remember if it was first or second round. Shara hadn't even managed to land a headshot on MVP. All he'd done was land a couple of body shots and mainly leg kicks, which of course MVP is much much used to trying to avoid with the stance that he takes all the time. Yeah, no doubt who won it. MVP did it. Congratulations. I didn't pick him, but I said at the time when I didn't pick him, I'd be super happy if the British fighter took it home. So yeah, great job. I don't know who he's going to get next. I know he wants to go back down to 170, back down to welterweight. So I guess that's going to be an interesting topic for discussion. Who he will get, and yeah, the main thing I could take heart in the fact that I picked this fight wrong is that Austin did not get any draft points. Over to you, Austin.
I did because he competed, so I got 5 off of that. So
Oh, you got
screw
five.
you.
Yeah, sorry. Five whole points. My apologies.
Yeah, son of a bitch.
Before we move it on to Austin, Danger Mouse,
Sorry.
I'll ask you one more thing since you had a pretty short synopsis there. What do you think we do with Shara Magomedov? Do you just give him a can next? Do you let him just fucking beat some unranked guy? Because he's probably going to fall out of the rankings now.
You could give him Izzy.
Ooh. Boy. So isn't that kind of rewarding him for losing that?
Well, they both lost though. That's the UFC way.
Yeah.
Izzy lost. Shara lost. They both.
He wasn't there, Mouse. Come on, he's not there. He's not in the.
No, he's not.
What are we doing here?
He's ranked 14th at the moment. He probably
But he
won't
lost to the unranked MVP.
But he probably won't lose any rankings because of that. I don't think. Let's have a look who's above him. Hermanson.
That should be the consequence to losing to an unranked middleweight.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. He lost to an unranked middleweight who was actually a welterweight. Yeah.
Paulo Costa, maybe that could be fun. Paulo Pasta, Austin's favorite.
I think. Here's my random thought, and we're going to move it to Austin. Here's my random thought. I think that MVP should stay at fucking middleweight. Don't cut back down to welterweight. I don't know why he's so dead set on going to welterweight, where there's more wrestlers, and you're an old man. Stop cutting that extra weight. Enjoy life at 185 in a division where there's less guys that are going to try to grapple you. Stay at 185, and I would actually give MVP somebody like Apollo Costa. I think that would be a fun fight.
Yeah, that would be too. Yeah.
Sure, Bullet, I don't know what you do with him. Maybe you give him an unranked guy. I think he needs to kind of stay at his level for now. But anyway, Austin, hindsight is 2020, but Shara's sight is 50-50. Get it? Get it? One eye?
Oh yeah, I should just say that was one thing I failed to take into account with Shara. The fact that page jumps in and out all the time, and what's the disadvantage of having one eye? You lose all your depth perception. So yeah, it was a dumb pick by me in that case.
Well, damn it, you ruined my punchline there. You ruined my joke. That's all right. So anyway, Austin, looking back now, how are you feeling about that Bullet draft pick? And what do you got to say about this fight?
Again, in my defense, I picked him forgetting that he was fighting MVP. I picked him because I thought they were just going to feed him cans in Saudi, but apparently they were like, well, have some venom. But again, he wanted the smoke. You gotta give him credit. He wanted the fight, and this is what happens when you have a high level striker in MVP faced a quality striker in Shara, but one of them is obviously better. This is what happens. Shara forgot that there are better strikers, and he tried to play the game. You cannot play the game with MVP. That's like playing the game with Wonderboy. Sometimes it can work out if you're lucky, and you actually stick to a game plan that forces him to engage and forget that he has to manage distance. Shara did not do that. Shara tried to go strike for strike, and then at times you can see him getting frustrated at the distance management that MVP is just a master at. And even though you could see he wasn't like defined, he wasn't like worried about having to get hit because he wasn't gonna get hit. More often than not, he just landed, and then it looked like what it looked like. It looked like a karate point fight that you see in the Olympics, and one of them was obviously better at it. And Shar should have known better. If you're gonna strike with a good striker, you got to make sure you get him to bite on feints, and you got to make him wrestle. Or at a bare minimum, remember that if you can't beat him in the stand-up, you have to look for other options. He just thought that he can outstrike him, and you can't do that with MVP. Now, I I do believe that this was one of those things where I think MVP just wanted to prove a point, which is funny because the whole back down to welterweight kind of thing. I got a feeling that he's probably going back down to welterweight because he's definitely capable at welterweight. I don't foresee anybody being absolutely 100% better at striking than him at welterweight. But then again, we're we're in a weird time. We're in a weird time with both divisions. I do think that this was a point so that Izzy fighting at middleweight is because I believe him and MVP are friends. I think that also kind of correlates within this somehow. I don't think he wants to get possibly matched up with them, but we'll see. I got a weird feeling that MVP might get an offer to stay at middleweight, like you said, Lazy. So we'll see.
Yeah, I think it would make sense, but yeah, as far as his motivations to go back to welterweight, I think he might have alluded to it himself actually in the post-fight interview, not in cage, but at the desk, because he is calling for a Leon Edwards matchup in London.
Yeah, I was just going to say that.
Ooh, that's a good
Which
one.
that would be, yeah, that's kind of another, a bit of a cherry-picked matchup by him because I think that's another guy that's not really going to try to take him down necessarily, although Leon would pose far more of a threat in that department than Shara did. But and I think that the Shara thing was sort of exactly what you guys are saying, and I mentioned it in the main card minute chat. It's like I got the feeling from MVP, he had this vibe of I know something you don't know when it came to Shara, and I think it was what we saw, and kind of what DM mentioned. He could dart in and fucking hit those karate blitzes, and because of Shara's bad depth perception, it was just a recipe for disaster. But it'll be interesting. Shara, though, he's claiming on social media a quote nightmarish health condition in the build to this fight. I think that's bullshit.
No,
Kiss my
I
You
didn't get
can't
right to watch
you
it.
can't use it. Yeah, you
Yeah,
can't use it as an excuse.
I saw the video. I didn't get around to watching it. I was going to say something else there, and my train of thought's been knocked off. What was I going to
just
say?
like his one eye. Hey.
Yeah, definitely. That was it. Mighty Mouse did a great little review of this fight, talking about how MVP jumped in, and if he didn't hit with the punch, he would just shove Shara backwards. I think he did knock him off his feet once, twice doing that. So yeah, great little breakdown from Mighty Mouse. I might have a little clip to show from Mighty Mouse later as well.
Oh yeah, shout out Mighty Mouse. That leaves us with but one fight left to discuss, and that is the main event. And for it, we stay in the middleweight division. Number 2 versus number 5, former champion Israel Adesanya, in what was his first non pay per view fight since 2019, went to battle with the Russian sniper fighting by way of France, Nasruddin Imavov. Stylebender came into this fight in great jeopardy of losing his third fight in a row, something he'd never done in his career. Go ahead, check that box. Imavov puts away Adesanya with a TKO finish 30 seconds into round number 2. France is used to being home to the City of Lights, but on Saturday, the sniper shut the lights out in Riyadh. No special. This is now a 1-4 in Izzy's last 5. He's 35 years old. What are your takeaways on the W for Imavov and the L for Israel?
Well, to be fair to Izzy, he's not facing pushovers. He's facing the best of the division, right? So you can't be like, oh yeah, that guy was never that good. No, he's facing guys who are quality fighters. Uh, as far as the fight, man, like he he looked good in the first round, and then he got popped, reacted fine. He's managing distance, being the aggressor, and keeping Imam off that distance, and just forcing him to have to engage on Izzy's terms. Now, the only problem with that is that you forget that Imavov can also hit, and if you're playing that distance game with him, you got to be ready for him to come in and crack you, because Izzy kind of forgot that. He got poked in the eye in the beginning of the second round, kind of distracted him a little bit, and then as he was kind of like getting back in, he looked a little lackadaisical, and then he was not prepared for how quick that overhand right came. And again, Imavov just bid on it, forced him to back up, and then landed the power shot, and then just did not give him a chance to breathe. That was textbook, because that's what Sean Strickland did. Sean Strickland pushed him against the cage and then attacked, right? And credit to Imavov, and again, Drake is also, they figured out how to beat Izzy without having to wait for a counter coming back. They just put him on his back foot and made sure he couldn't dart away. And unfortunately for Izzy, that makes it what is it? What he was 1-4, 1-3 in his last 4. So it's like he's kind of been not found out, but maybe he has. The problem now is that he he may need to just move up in weight. He's, if I remember correctly, he seemed to be struggling with the weight cut.
Yeah, but
Maybe he just puts on a
he
little bit more
barely
muscle.
made light heavy last time he fought at light heavy.
Yeah, but that's also a different story now when it was then. He can beat 90% of that division without even trying. You know, Imavov. I don't know if you were gonna touch on this, Lazy, but Imavov also thought he was like next in line for the title.
Yeah, I'm
Right.
gonna bring that
So
up.
okay, so no, just did a great performance. Just unfortunate for Izzy.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I worry about him moving up to 205 because we seen, like DangerMouse touched on, we seen how that went for him the last time he did it. Now, granted, that wasn't exactly the soundest and smartest move up to 205, but he just I worry that he's gonna get kind of manhandled up there, and I worry that he's having trouble taking shots at 185. I don't know how he's gonna handle shots at 205. That could be the weight cut getting to him. I don't know. It's a possibility, and it's definitely something that he should be considering. But I think if he does move up to 205, he needs to take like a year off and do it properly and bulk up and do it the right way. And then that puts him at what? He's gonna be 36, maybe, going towards 37. It's just it's a sticky situation for Israel, and you got people like Michael Bisping on the post-fight show calling for Izzy's retirement. So I mean, I don't know if he's there yet, but he could be. I mean, and then despite winning, Nasruddin Imavov, the guy can't buy a fucking headline. Like he's got no personality. Nobody's fucking talking about him. So it's just kind of weird. But anyway, Monsieur Danger Mouse, connoisseur of French culture that you are, what were your thoughts on Adesanya getting finished here in the main event as a whole?
Yeah, this was a fun one. I picked Izzy. I thought he might get it done, but this was one I was looking at right up to the point where we had to lock the picks in. I was thinking, should I change to Imavov here? And in all honesty, if I'd have seen some of the stats that I saw pop up on screen just before the fight, which I have got a screenshot of for Dave, um, if I'd have seen those stats beforehand, I think I might have switched to Nasruddin Imavov for this fight. Congratulations to Street, was the only person to pick him. Great job there. Yeah, it was that. It was the KO that began, as Austin's already said, very similar to how Strickland hurt him and concussed Izzy, which led to him losing that fight. It was kind of a shovel punch. I've heard a few people trying to struggle to describe how it happened, and what it kind of reminded me of was a kung fu punch, if you know what I mean. One of those that comes straight up with the fist straight out. There's no bend in the arm; it just comes straight up. I might be wrong there, but that's what it kind of reminded me of anyway. And yeah, I just scribbled down in my notes, or typed down in my notes. There's always a moment where an avalanche or a stone rolling down a hill begins, and
Ooh.
I think that Sean, with his 1-2 in round one of their first fight against each other, was the man who tripped Sisyphus for the first time and gave others the belief that they could do it too, or at least the proof that they could. And I think ever since then, people have had very little problem, walking through Izzy. Uh, DDP obviously did it in a slightly different manner, but he did apply pressure. He just decided to take Izzy's back and choke him out for a change. Imavov just did the same thing. He stepped forward. I don't know whether he did a slight hand grab on Izzy rather than a jab, or whether it was a feint that suckered Izzy to put his hands up, and that just right hand just went straight through, bang on the target. The left hook that followed it up when Izzy fell was just beautifully precise. He hit the floor. He rolled over. Was the stoppage a little bit early? Maybe you could have argued for a couple more seconds, but do you really need to give him the chance of taking any serious CTE at this point? I don't have any problem with the stoppage whatsoever. Imavov is just improving and improving and improving. Each fight he's winning, and each time he's winning it faster and in a more decisive manner. So yeah, absolutely great performance by Imavov. And sorry, Lazy, I've been rambling there. What was the exact question you asked me?
No, that's you got it. You did you did your justice there. It was in a weird way, like it was kind of like the reverse Pereira, wasn't it? Like Izzy waved off the eye poke, so it was an eye poke instead of a groin
Yeah.
shot. Yeah, he waves off the eye poke and says, tells the ref, no, no, I'm good. And then he gets finished himself. So that was a bit strange there. But yeah, last thing I want to touch on with this for this fight with you guys is Imavov next. That's 4 wins in a row, 2 versus top 10, 2 finishes of top 5 guys, Dolidze, Cannonier, Brennan Allen, and now Israel Adesanya. So is Imavov next for a title shot? Austin, you can go first.
Uh, well, it's an interesting question because neither. Well, actually, Strickland is the one who has faced Imavov, right? And that was a short notice fight at 205, if I remember correctly. And the if he, let's say, wins, I don't think Strickland's going to be as interested to do it, which is dumb on his part, but it's neither here nor there. Drakis is probably the one willing to take on Imavov if he wins against Strickland. Now that fight is scheduled, so it's good to go. We just need to make sure they fight soon after that. So the timeline should work out for both the winner of the title fight and Imavov. But neither of them fight more than once a year now, it seems, and even sometimes less than that. The other problem is that if neither one of the winner of the title fight is going to be ready, he has to either wait or he'll have to fight Carl Balio. It's because they're not going to make him fight. Maybe they will. I don't know, because that's the Khamzat Chimaev is waiting in the wings there. He can't. So he can't leave the region yet. So that's another issue.
Yeah, yeah,
So
keyword, yeah, yeah,
yeah, yeah. But yeah, no, because it's a weird time for the division. They
yeah.
either we have to wait a long time for him to fight, and he'll possibly have to sit out like Strickland did,
Yeah.
or he's going to have to fight a contender, and neither one is an easy fight for him. He's young enough to
Yeah.
lose and get another run back in, but this is a tricky situation because either he's going to be sitting on the sidelines regardless, or he's going to have to take a fight against a guy who's a lot more difficult than I would say.
Right.
There's a possibility. So let's see.
All right, DangerMouse, what do you think? You think that Imavov is next in line?
Danger.
Drinking Mouse? Maybe he stepped away.
No, I was muted because I was looking for a clip that I wanted to show you guys. It's the one I put in the comments. I muted it because I was trying to play it. That Mighty Mouse reacting to is he losing?
Mhm.
Let me see if I can share it. Make a note, Dave. Oh, here we go.
Oh! No! Fuck! Get up, Izzy! Get up, nigga! Fuck! Fuck! God damn it! Fuck! God damn it! Fuck! God damn it, man! Oh.
That's it.
Yeah, that was me when Matt Holloway got knocked out.
Yeah, and Austin, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, yeah. So yeah, how does Imavov shape up? I did have a look at this because you gave us a hint. You might give us this question. Imavov currently ranked 5th. Izzy was ranked 2nd. So ideally, they should change places, having beaten each other, or Izzy having lost. That would put Izzy at 5, which he can't really be because Robert Whittaker's at 4. So that would, I guess, you'd have to, if you want to reorder the top 5, Whittaker at 5, Israel at 4, Chimaev stays the same at 3, Imavov goes to 2, Strickland is still number 1 because he has the fight coming up, and that's not going to stop happening. And yet, Chimaev seems to be in line for getting the next shot at the belt. But if Strickland wins, that would give it 1-1 between him and DDP. And then do we have the rubber match between that? Does DDP deserve a reshot of the title after just one successful defense or not? I would suggest not. It's one of those you could set up later down the line, maybe when they've both already lost the title. Chimaev, I think, gets the next shot of the belt. So sorry, Nasruddin, you're going to have to wait. Maybe sit on the sidelines, or as Austin suggested, Kai Barallo will be looking for a fight. But they're two guys that do you really want to waste all those prospects at the moment? I'm not sure. Really tough one for the UFC. Fortunately, not my problem. It is Imavov's, and I guess he does, I guess he does now become my favorite French fighter because he knocked Izzy out. Yeah, good luck, son.
Oh goodness. Yeah, I think that the Chimaev thing is definitely going to be a big problem for him because I really do think that Chimaev is next. You know, the UFC wants it. They've been wanting it. It's been all the talk amongst the fans since fucking 2020. So I think that Chimaev is definitely going to be next, no matter who wins with Strickland versus Duplessis. So he's probably going to have to sit out or take somebody else. But
Yeah.
all right, gentlemen, that is Fight Night Adesanya versus Imavov in the record books. Now that we've wrapped up everything from the UFC's second ever visit to Riyadh, let's do what we do best and summarize our thoughts in a sweet or sour little segment that we call Rate That Card. Danger, the Waffle Mouse.
Yes,
Are
sorry,
the
Dave.
Are the griddles hot today for some waffling? Let's go to you first. Let's hear your rating from 1 to 10 on UFC Fight Night Adesanya versus Imavov.
I kind of enjoyed the card for the most part. The main card was a bit of slightly dull because I was kind of cheering for decisions for the entire card because that's what I picked on Topology. Didn't do well on the picks on the main card. Did pretty well on the preview. On the prelims. 8 out of 11 for anyone interested altogether. Yeah, decentish card. can I give it a high rating? It wasn't super exciting, except I guess the main event was pretty exciting. I'll give it slightly more than I gave the other week. I will give it. Oh my god, which one do I give it? I'll give it a straight 7.
All right. Well, no especial, our resident optimist. Usually, this card was on at the ass crack of dawn for you. What were your thoughts on our little trip over to good old Saudi Arabia?
Well, first, I would have watched it live had it not been for a last minute gig I had to take care of. But nonetheless, I was able to watch the main event live, and we all acted the same, surprised as hell. Seeing Izzy getting finished like that is crazy. You know, almost had the same one as Mighty Mouse did. Not as dramatic, but still. um, the card wasn't too bad. It was just, you know, a lot of decisions, unfortunately, and that usually kind of drags through the card, especially when the fights aren't always exciting. Uh, I would say for me, it's probably 6.5. I would say a 6.5 for me, just because the main event saved it, but it also was leaning towards, you know, starting to get a little heavy in the decision department. So
Mhm.
Yeah.
6.5.
I will point out, and I'll give Dave a clip for this later. I was very, very drunk at the time.
I was very, very drunk.
All right. Well, as for myself, I'm kind of feeling what Austin said. Like it was an okay event, but bit too decision heavy for me. A bit too uh, heavy leaning towards catering to a specific region of the world with the lineup of fighters on the card. There was a couple of fun finishes, a couple of fun moments, but all in all, I wasn't super duper impressed. So I'm gonna give it a 6.5 as well. All right, folks, we wrap up with our final segment of the day, a brief look ahead at the main card for UFC 312 next weekend and our predictions for the main and co-main event. So let's just rip the band-aid off and take a look at this. I'm sorry, Australia. 312's main course will open with the 20-7 Jake Matthews against the 12-2 Argentinian Francisco Prado. We'll follow that with a light heavyweight matchup between 12-4-1 Jimmy Crute against 12-2 Adolfo Bellato. And then one more shitfest at heavyweight when 7-0 Taliesin Teixeira makes his UFC debut on a pay-per-view main card against the 7-4 Justin Tafa. Now then, we get into the only recognizable and serviceable fights of the night. The co-main event, defending champion Magnum Zhang Wei Li will put her gold on the line against the female equivalent to Hamzat Chimaev and Tatiana Suarez. It's been stated coming into this that the UFC is electing to roll without a safety net on these two title fights, with no backups planned for either bout. It's risky business. So let's get you boys' takes on these matchups. Austin, who do you got coming out on top next Saturday when Zhang Wei Li battles Tatiana Suarez?
5 years ago, I probably would have picked Tatiana, but that is not the situation we are in. She's been injury prone and plagued, which is unfortunate, and she rarely fights. So they basically were like, well, we're not going to wait for you to get injured. We're just going to give you the shot. And I don't think she's ready for it, unfortunately. Wei Li Zhang by decision.
All right, yeah, it's fair. Fair. All right, so Danger Mouse, that leads us to you. Who comes out victorious on Saturday night in this women's strawweight title fight?
I don't have a lot of choice who to pick on this one because I picked Zhang Wei Li to be the strawweight champion at the end of the year. So Zhang Wei Li, no choice.
Yeah, for me too. I think kind of like what Austin said.
Yeah.
Just kind of like what Austin said for me. 5 years ago, I definitely would have gone with Tatiana. Even maybe 3 years ago, 4 years ago, but it's just, I mean, she is not she's not a safe pick in any event. Great fighter, great skill set, but we're gonna be lucky if she makes the fight. So give me Zhang Weili by decision, probably. All right, our final prediction, and it's going to be the main event of UFC 312, the rematch, the second go, the middleweight championship fight. Dricus du Plessis looks to retain his title against the man he took it from, Sean Strickland. So, Danger Mouse, nearly 1 year exactly since their first matchup, how do you think that this rematch unfolds and who you got coming out on top?
This one's a tough one for me. My head, should I say, is suggesting that Drickus might just edge this one out. I don't think it will have a ton of a different fight from the one we had last time. But I heard Sean talk. I've heard Nixick talk today before we started the show. When hopefully Sean will not get cut over his eye early in the fight this time, because that obviously hindered him very badly in that one. I think we're going to see another close fight. I'm not really sure. This is what I might change on the day. For a bit of fun at the moment, I will say that my boy Sean Strickland will come back and win his belt back. But I'm not guaranteeing that. I'm not guaranteeing that's the pick I'll make on the MK Discord at the moment.
All right, well, I'll go second here just to shake up the order. Yeah, I'm never gonna pick Sean Strickland in a fight ever. I don't care who he's facing. You're never gonna hear me pick Sean Strickland. So as much as I don't like Dinkus Duplessis, give me DDP to retain his title here. Okay, no special. You know the score. Middleweights clash for a second time with UFC gold at stake. Do we see a repeat of fight number 1 or something different? Give us your prediction.
Well, history would reckon that the man who won the first time usually can win the second time. Not always, but if you lose the first fight, you can. We've seen also that if they have a trilogy, the man who loses the first fight but wins the second usually wins the third. I don't believe we're going to get a trilogy though. I think it's going to be another contentious fight that's going to end with the champion retaining his title, and I've just seen more development out of Drakus, despite how whimsically unorthodox he can be. Yet Strickland has not shown me that he's done much to adapt, especially since he's only fought once. I just have more faith in Drakus being able to pull out a decision and possibly even a finish, but we'll see. I'm still going to lean with Drakus regardless.
Yeah, man, we need Dinkus to pull this one out because I gotta see DDP versus Hamzat. Like, I have to have that fight. That's one of my most wanted fights for 2025. That would be
true. That would make a more fun.
Yeah, because that's gonna be nuts.
Yeah.
Well, gang, it's been a ton of fun, but we are just about out of time here today. Don't you sweat it, though, because we're just getting started with an 11-week stretch of UFC events, which means plenty of opportunities to hit you bleeders with all the fresh content. Join us back here next week where we'll break down all things UFC 312 from Sydney, Australia. Until then, you already know what it is. For No Special, Danger Mouse, Chatri, Steven, and Dave, I'm LazyBed, and this has been the Weekend Roundup.
Later.
No. Peace, man. We're out of it. Get me another drink.
God damn it.
Oh, God.
All right, well, that leaves us with Bell. All right, well, that leaves us.
That's all, folks.
Hello, everybody. Welcome, and thank you for tuning in to Just Bleed Radio. Today is. I'll have to redo that.
It's a Sunday. It's Sunday, Lazy.
Orange juice, yeast, and that's it, really. He's getting some good sounds in at the minute. Cookies, Chatri. Cookies.